just ask you for my nation. In Jesus' name. I ask not for riches. I ask not for fame. I just ask you for my nation. In Jesus' name. I ask for America. I call her by name. I present her to the Father. In Jesus' name. I ask for America. Oh, I call her by name. I present her to the Father. In Jesus' name. May she not be naked. May she not be ashamed. Just stand before the Orion. Oh, that great judgment day. But may she be spotless, and may she be clothed, and may she know Jesus that day at thy throne. I ask for America. I call her by name. I present her to the Father. In Jesus' name. I ask for America. Yes, I call her by her name. I present her to her Father. In Jesus' name. For you crowned her good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with her light from above. This land, it's still your land, and this land is my land. And you crowned her good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
In the far distant land of common sense, a place where we all once lived, you'll find the Conservative College with Professor Toto. It is here where the foundational principles of our great republic are still taught and true patriots are still educated in the hallowed halls of this school of hope, Just like the iconic puppy from The Wizard of Oz, who found great joy in pulling back the curtain on the lies of the wizard, so does Professor Toto. Grab your seats and welcome to the Conservative College. Class begins now.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Do you hear the bell of liberty calling all patriots to grab their bean bags, say hello to your fellow students, and get in this classroom tonight? It's the only safe place left in the world for secret conservatives, restorationists, to find their way among the hallowed halls of the Conservative College. I am your humble, neighborhood friendly professor, fluffy too, Professor Toto. Today is Tuesday, May the 30th. Can you believe that the year is so quickly slipping by? Wow. 8 o'clock on the beautiful Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And I want to welcome every one of you that have taken this time out of your schedule. I know how valuable your time is. And I know that there are thousands of podcasters begging for your attention. And the fact that you choose me and the Conservative College every Tuesday and Thursday night never goes unnoticed. And that's why we try to always bring you great classes where you'll actually learn something, where you'll actually leave our class with education, knowledge, understanding, motivation to go back out there and fight the good fight of the faith of our republic and to stand strong and never give in. And I'm so proud tonight that there are some citizens in the state of Texas that have done exactly that. They have shown a strength that this nation needs right now. Citizens that have made a difference, and I want to give them a shout out tonight. I want to draw your attention to a place right outside of Lubbock, Texas. This story caught my attention, and I want to share it with you. It's just a little coffee house in the little town of, I believe that town is Wolforth, W-O-L-F-F-O-R-T-H. It's called Tumbleweed Coffee House. Innocent looking, just a little coffee house. They just like to have book readings and coffee and little community get together. Just an innocent coffee house. Except for this fact here. This is what they call a reading in that little coffee house, okay? So let me see if hopefully, let me change that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share that screen again. Give me one moment. And let's see if we can, yeah, there we go. Here's what they do in that coffee house. Listen carefully. Watch the innocent, beautiful children. Let's see if we can get an audio. There we go. Innocent coffee house, taking your children inside their walls for a little coffee and a little queer coffee. And so I watched it as American children were sitting there being trained. Their minds are being trained on what they're seeing. Now, this coffee house, this is one of their readings, their brunch they're going to have. It's a drag brunch right there in the little community outside Lubbock, Texas. Here's another, that's their staff. Boy, they look like a group, don't they? Anyway, that's their staff. You know, the baristas from the land of Oz, this little cafe gives out Plan B pills with their coffee. That's right. Plan B pills with their coffee. Great little coffee house, right? They're giving out free Plan B kits to anyone that's wanting them. Now, the police department responded that basically there's nothing they could do because there's no law against giving out Plan B pills. However, ladies and gentlemen, there is great news to report. I would like to show you this great news. What happens when conservatives stand by our values? Here's what happens. Are you ready? Right under the picture here, I'd like to read you an announcement from their page. I don't know if that's Instagram. I think it is. Yeah, on Instagram. They have an announcement to make today. Are you ready? It is with super sad hearts that we have to let everyone know that we are closing our doors. We have long served our community. This is not a light-hearted decision. We'll keep you posted on our last days of operation. We would love to sell the shop. Long story short, ladies and gentlemen, when we make a stand, they have to close. When we make a stand, they have to change. The purpose of Professor Toto and the Conservative College is to help you make a stand, to give you the strength and the education to know where to make a stand, how to make a stand, to keep you informed. We must all stand together. Every single one of us must stand. This hour that we're living in, there is a religious war that has been unleashed against you and I. I'm going to do a little video after this class, and I'll release it on our website, fhtv.tv. Let me get that for you so you can go over there and subscribe right now. Right there. Go subscribe right there. Go subscribe now. And when I'm going to upload a video tonight called The Religious War Against America. You need to understand that we are in a war. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow patriots, Toto's army, those that love this great nation, the days of you standing on the sideline singing Kumbaya, they've come to an end. I had the privilege today of spending the day with my granddaughter. We were out at the land, that 30 acres that we bought for the church and for Toto's army. And we were riding four-wheelers together, and me and her were together. And I looked down at my granddaughter, and I tried to imagine her wedding day. I tried to imagine her first child. And the thought hit me like a ton of bricks. My God, what kind of world will my great-grandchildren grow up in if I don't take a stand? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank every one of you tonight as heroes of this great republic. Heroes that have stood up. You have done your part, and you may think it makes no difference. But when it's joined together with everyone else, it makes a difference. Just like that coffee shop in Texas, in Wolf Earth, Texas, you made a difference. Somebody could not stay silent. Someone could not stay quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody had to make a difference. I just put the QR code up there for our website. You can scan it and go watch that video. We should have it up later tonight. We are in a war. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight in this class, I want to dive in to the details of that war. It's not just a culture war. There is a war for America's very existence as we know it. I'm going to take you into, in just a moment, a set of video clips that I want us to watch together. And you are going to hear something that's very unusual in this world today. You're going to hear a certain sound. That is the title of tonight's class, a certain sound. Because in our world that we live in, a certain sound is hard to hear. You never know who's telling the truth anymore. You never know what the truth is because there is no certain sound. The Word of God says in 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 8, if the trumpet gives an uncertain sound, who will prepare for the battle? And I find it so ironic that Donald Trump, his last name is Trump. I just find that to be an irony, if you will, highly unusual, because a trump gives a sound. It gives a message. Last night, I heard the sound of taps being played for Memorial Day. And I knew immediately what that sound was stirring up within me. Sounds stir us up. And God used a trumpet to awaken a generation that was sound asleep. And the reason we rallied behind him then, and we rally behind him now, is because he gave us a certain sound. He did not speak to us and insult our integrity like a politician. He did not whimper or waver. He told us the hard truth, even the ones that offended many people in the way that he said it. This is a certain sound that our nation is missing. This is a certain sound that we must follow. And if you're not careful, many people will begin to be swayed to other sounds rather than that certain sound. And tonight, I want you to listen to that certain sound. And then when this series of video clips is over with, I'm going to come back and reveal to you what he was saying all along. The man has not changed. His message has not changed. And I want you to pay attention now as we go and listen to a certain sound.
And controversial builder. When he disagrees with a matter of policy, he does it in a big way. Today, he sunk $95,000 into a full-page newspaper ad appearing in many papers criticizing the administration's foreign policy. Rumblings in the Trump camp point as far as the presidency. Could the Manhattan magnate be eyeing the White House, or is he just calling a bluff? Are you a Republican, Donald?
I'm a Republican, yes.
So if there were politics, it would be as a Republican.
It would be, I guess, as a Republican, but I don't see that there will be politics. Well, it was very easy. I was tired, and I think a lot of people are tired of watching other countries ripping off the United States. This is a great country. They laugh at us. Behind our backs, they laugh at us because of our own stupidity and the it's just preposterous. I watched the Kuwaiti oil minister the other day laughing as he was explaining how much money they intend to make with the Bridgeton, which has been a total disaster, the Bridgeton. And I said to myself, isn't that a shame? He's talking about how much money they're going to make, and here we are. He's smiling and laughing. Why don't we get some of it? Why is it that we're protecting? We have frogmen, we have helicopters, we have aircraft carriers, and all sorts of ships all over the Persian Gulf, so that this man and his little group can make a lot of money. I think it's ridiculous. Larry, the country is losing $200 billion a year. $200 billion. This country cannot continue to lose $200 billion. Japan is one of the wealthiest machines ever created. Saudi Arabia, and it's not, hey, let me tell you, I'm a big beneficiary of Japan. They buy my apartments in spades. They're fine people, but they must be, they're laughing to themselves as to what's happening over here. We're not kidding ourselves. They're laughing to themselves, Larry, as to what's happening with this country.
But Donald, a lot of people feel the way you feel, and a lot of people maybe with as much money, or certainly some people with as much money feel the way you feel. Why did you go public?
because somebody had to, Larry.
Are we going to be hearing?
I want you to hear what he just said. Somebody had to. Now, we have a good ways to go. I'm going to interject periodically because I want you to catch certain things from this trumpet, He says, why are you interjecting? Donald Trump at this point had spent $100,000 back in the 80s on a newspaper ad to defy the administration, the president of that day. $100,000 that he spent of his own money. When asked, why did you do it? Because somebody had to do it. I want you to hear that certain sound. Somebody has to do it. Somebody in your neighborhood has to do it. Someone in your church has to do it. Someone in your community, someone in your school, someone in your school board, someone in your influence, your circle has to take a stand.
Hearing more from Mr. Trump on issues like this as we go along?
I really don't know, Larry. This is an issue that's been bothering me. It's been bothering a lot of people that I know, and I think it's an issue that had to be brought out to the fore. The concept of America financing and paying and losing lives for countries that won't even allow us to use their ships, and these are the countries that in 24 hours they'd be wiped off the face of the earth if it was.
Does that message sound familiar? Does that sound like something he's just said in the 2016, 30 years later, 30 years, 40 years later? No change in message, no change in sound. The man was loved, he was revered while he was saying then the same thing he's saying now. The only difference is talk is cheap. The man did what he said. That's when they hated him.
Weren't for America, it's ridiculous.
Is it true that you're going to go to New Hampshire in October at the invitation of Mike Dunbar, who's heading a group called Draft Donald Trump?
Well, I was asked about 3 or 4 weeks ago whether or not, by a very good friend of mine, whether or not I'd go to New Hampshire. That's turned out to be now a much bigger deal than I had ever anticipated. And perhaps, I don't know, I am going. I made the commitment to go. I made the commitment about 3 weeks ago, and I will go, yes.
You will go, even though you realize now, in just stepping foot in that state, people are going to presume things.
Well, they can presume whatever they want. I have no intention of running for president, but I'd like to.
I have no intention of running for president. Now, this is a man that evidently keeps his word. He just said, I made a commitment to go to New Hampshire. I'll keep that commitment. Now he's saying, I have no intention of running for president. You're exactly right, Donald. You didn't. But I know someone that sits high and looks low that did.
Point to get across that we have a great country, but it's not going to be great for long if we're going to continue to lose $200 billion a year. You're going to get into the early 90s, 1990s.
Notice his message, losing $200 billion a year. Notice it, because after this clip, I'm fixing to dive into his message.
1991, and the whole thing's going to blow, because
the whole thing is going to blow. Write that in your notes. This is a certain sound, folks. This is a trumpet giving a certain sound.
This country cannot continue to support Japan and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and many other countries that are much wealthier than we are. We're not a wealthy country. You can't be a wealthy country when you're losing the kind of money that.
Did Donald Trump just say we are not a wealthy country? The wealthiest country in the world? I hope you're listening to the trumpet, because the little bugle boy, that's me, is going to come behind the trumpet and make it all plain to you in a moment. Listen to what he's saying. We are not a wealthy country. We have been duped. We have been deceived into thinking we are a wealthy country. That's Trump's message. That trumpet has never changed.
That we're losing.
We're a debtor country.
I think
we are a what kind of country? Debtor. We are a debtor country.
Next president of the United States could have some very, very, very serious problems. It's going to be, I think, it's going to be a very difficult presidency because of the problems that we're talking about right now.
And you don't want it to be Donald Trump?
I do not want it to be Donald Trump, but I do want the problems to be solved, Larry.
Is that the front page he's on? All these magazines, front page, Trump, Trump, Trump. Was God not up to something? Was Yahweh not up to something? Front page. The people loved him. The nation loved him.
And what about are people trying to draft you to run for president up in New Hampshire?
Well, I guess a lot of people want to see this country. It's a shame what's happening. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, everybody's taking advantage of the United States. People know that if certain people are running a country, that it won't happen. I mean, when you look at Japan not paying for the defense, we're defending Japan. We're losing billions and billions of dollars. We're fighting for AIDS help and for farmers and for this and that. And it's a shame. And the Japanese folks, who I respect greatly, but they're not treating us fairly. They're really not treating.
That message has never changed, folks. Certain sound. This is 30, well, let's see, what was that? 87, 97, 07, 17, almost 27, almost 40 years ago of a certain sound from Donald Trump. This is why the people love the man. You know where he stands. You know what he believes. The message never changes.
Us fairly. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're not paying us anything for the services we're rendering, and I think it's a disgrace. And I think people look at certain people, and maybe me, if I were in a position, this country, believe me, would not be ripped off like it is.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Did he just say if I was in a certain position, this country would not be ripped off? Was that not what he did? From 16 to 20, did he not end NAFTA and all the junk? Did he not keep that word? He just said, if I'm ever in a certain position, this country will not be ripped off anymore. I believe he said it, Trumpet.
And it is just being ripped off so badly by our so-called allies.
Yeah. So that's a pretty strong statement. So now, are you saying? I
don't think it's strong. I think it's fair. And
I don't think it's strong. I think it's fair. Donald Trump is for equal justice, equal treatment under the law. So sorry he doesn't get that.
By the way, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese. I do a lot of business with the Japanese. And they smile about it too. They know it. The country is losing billions and billions of dollars to Japan, and we can't afford to lose. And it's a shame.
But so now, are you saying this by way of indicating that you could do it better, and you do intend to run for president at some point?
No, I'm not going to run for president, but I think somebody.
Now, in 8 years, if you came back, would you have a different answer? In 4 years,
I tend to doubt it. I really tend to doubt it. But
because I don't want to be a president. I don't want to be a politician. The man never wanted to be president.
I just think that there are so many ways that this country can straighten itself out, and we're not going about those ways. Cutting farm aid is not the appropriate thing. Cutting help for the homeless and help for the poor.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Donald Trump supposedly hates the poor, hates the homeless, wants to, take all their benefits away. He's cruel, he's heartless. Right here, the man said, cutting that aid to people that need it is not the answer. The answer is making our allies pay their fair share. When Trump said these words, ladies and gentlemen, he was predicting the future of America in 1987.
And welfare, certain things can be done that really will mean big dollars to this country, and those things are not being done right now.
Sitting here listening to this stuff, it seems to me you are dying to get to some public platform to superimpose those feelings upon the American awareness.
Well, maybe so, but I'm not. I would like to have the feeling.
Did you hear him? I'm not. I don't want to be president. I never want to be president. This is a man that was called for this moment. He never wanted to serve as president. At the moment of this video, there was a national movement to make him president. He never wanted to be president, but he kept saying, there is a problem in America. We are a poor country, not a wealthy country. We are a debtor country. When this video clip is over, I'm going to lead you into what he means by we are a poor country. Stay tuned, folks. It's going to get good tonight.
feelings known and let somebody else do it, and it can be done. If the ball's carried correctly, it can be done.
Yeah, but if you want something done right,
Do it yourself.
here's the book.
Right there, the man's telling him, why don't you do it? If you want it done, nobody could do it like you could. What does Donald Trump say? No desire.
It's Trump, the art of the deal, and this is Donald Trump. Donald, thank you.
There he is on the front of People magazine. People magazine. He was on the front of news, on front of all the magazines. The nation loved the man. And he was saying then the same thing he says now. Nothing changed except for the fact he had the power to do what he said back then. That's what caused everyone to go into an uproar. He had the power of the presidency to actually make a change.
As Phil says, I don't like mincing words because what difference does it make? Again, I'm not running for office, so it doesn't matter. I can stand up here and unlike a lot of people that I watch, I can say what I think. But that's much of a prediction. I believe that the incompetence and corruption will ultimately lead to his having to get out.
Hold on just one
No.
second.
You keep saying you're not running for office, but why don't you run for mayor of New York?
No, I wouldn't want to run for mayor of New York. I'd like to see somebody talented do that, and there's a tremendous potential in New York. New York is the great city. It's one of the great places of the world. But
he always inspires hope. New York is a great city. There's nothing negative about the man's message.
I really have no intention of running for mayor. Thank you.
But you definitely are a political person, whether you run for office, by what everything that you say and do points in that direction.
You know what it is? I don't like being taken advantage of.
The message is clear. This sounds like 2016, and it's 40 years earlier. I don't like being taken advantage of. The message has stayed clear.
Okay. And when I see a Japan ripping off this country, and I'm not saying that negative to Japan, I'm saying it from my standpoint. I'm a businessman. I know how to deal, and some of you folks do too. When I see a total ripoff of this country by Japan, where they literally have no defense budget, where we have to borrow money from them in order to get them oil and defend the Persian Gulf, where most of the oil goes to Japan and other countries, not us. We get 4% of our oil. When I see Kuwait, I mean, it's a disgrace what's going on. So bottom line, Phil, I don't like being ripped off. And when I see something, I let people know. Unfortunately, nobody else does very much about it.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our...
Let's see if his message has changed. Listen closely. Let's see if Donald Trump has ever changed his message.
Allies. Forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily. I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's...
Listen to the words he just said. That's what tonight's show is about. We are a debtor nation. He has said that 3 times now in each of those interviews, that we are not a wealthy nation. We are a debtor nation. Stay with me, folks. Tonight's class, I'm going to expose to you the lie that you have come to believe and you need to wake up from. Listen.
It's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade.
This sounds like...
Free trade sounds like 2016. Who came into office and actually got NAFTA? Hello? Who? Anybody out there? 40 years earlier, he was telling about free trade. The man kept his word. That's something you're not allowed to do in politics. You're not allowed to keep your word.
Political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not.
No desire to run for president.
But I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really...
Now there's a change. This is about 10 years later. Now there's a change. Now he wouldn't rule it out. 10 years before that, no, never. God's already working on his heart to help save America from her greatest threat, And I'm going to explain that threat to you tonight.
Really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings and we're not.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
And that's exactly what he did, folks. Do you not remember your economy? From 16 to 20, 2% inflation. Does nobody remember it? It's now 5%, double, 100% higher. Does anybody not remember what he did to the allies, making them step up to the plate? The man's message has been a certain sound.
Really, why are you here?
I'm here because I'm a guest of Vice President Bush, Mrs. Bush, the Mossbachers, and some others. And
as an observer?
As really an observer, and it's an interesting system, and I wanted to see really how the system works.
Isn't that funny? The Bushes loved him. Wow. The Bushes, he's a guest at the Bushes. They loved the man until he kept his word.
It's the first time that I've been involved in a convention. I came down, I wanted to see how it works, and it's fascinating.
How about financing? Why are you involved in politics at all?
I enjoy it. I enjoy the system. I doubt I'll ever be involved in politics beyond what I do right now, but I do enjoy the system. I find it a really beautiful thing to watch. It's a beautiful
the rumors
machine.
that you were going to run were wrong?
Oh, I was never going to run. I mean, I made the
I was never going to run.
mistake of going up to New Hampshire, a place that I love, and doing a friend a favor and making a speech for him. It got tremendous publicity. It was one of my good speeches, by the way. It got tremendous publicity and tremendous crowds. And all of a sudden, everybody thought I was...
Nothing's changed about Donald. Tremendous crowds. I mean, 40 years ago, folks. Hey, you get what you get. You ain't got to wonder.
going to run for president. And it was very flattering and everything, but I never had any intention, and I won't be running for president.
I won't be running for president. Is he on the front of Time magazine? My word. Interesting.
10 years from now, do you see Donald Trump in politics?
I don't see myself as a politician. I think I speak my mind perhaps too bluntly.
No, not you. Not you, Don. Speak your mind too bluntly. The man's never changed, folks. You got to appreciate that.
I like to tell the truth.
That's not allowed, sir. I'm sorry.
Not sure that a great politician can always tell the truth. I do like to tell the truth. I like to say what should be done and when it should be done, and I'm not sure that a politician's allowed to do that.
And you'll find that out in 2020, Donald. I'm speaking into your future, sir. You're not allowed to do that, sir.
Get elected, and that's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate for the country, I can tell you that.
You are the most celebrated builders. You are the role model builders. I looked at that audience at that Donahue show.
Whoa. Did that man just say Donald Trump is a role model? Whoo, y'all, I need a fan up in here, because I'm telling you, that's like I'm in the Twilight Zone. When was this a role model, Donald Trump? Wow. Okay. All right.
And those women were looking at you with awe and respect.
Now they sue him and call him a rapist without any evidence.
Become a role model in this country. The reason that your book sells, the reason that your board game sells, is because people are looking to leaders. People are looking for values, and you're one of the people. And you may dismiss it, but people are talking about, Donald Trump for president. What they're really talking about is Donald Trump, show us the way.
Years.
What did your friend George...
Donald Trump, show us the way? Boy, was that a prophetic statement.
Bush say when you outlined this to him?
I believe that George Bush...
Okay, everybody, he's fixing to tell you the problem with Bush. I tell you, this is...
And a lot of other people, and George Bush is a friend, but I believe...
Back then, Bush was a friend.
That they just don't want to make waves.
They don't want to make waves.
They don't want to broach the subject. they don't want to become, as I said before, advocates. They want to sort of just keep it the way it is.
So what chance do
The
we have?
problem that I have with that is that I don't believe you can keep it the way it is. See, I don't
Now we're getting somewhere. I don't believe you can just keep it the way it is. Sir, you'll pay a great price in your future for not letting it stay the way it is.
believe that a country can continue to lose perhaps $200 billion a year. I really don't. Now, nobody knows what's going to happen. Who knows, really? I mean, nobody, the economists, I think it's a wasted profession as far as I'm concerned, because I've never seen one that's consistently right. But nobody knows what's going to happen. But I'm, again, somebody that has a good instinct financially. I have had historically. I followed markets. I've been going in the right direction, whether it's New York real estate or stocks or whatever. I know from a common sense financial standpoint that something has to burst. When a country is losing billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and when other countries are making hundreds of billions of dollars, something is going to burst, and it's going to start here. I know it. It's a question of when. To me, it's not a question if, it's a question of when.
And Before this happens, let me ask you this question. By the power invested me in WNET, I make you in charge. The Donald is running the show.
I've come a long way with you.
Would you do it?
I wouldn't want to do it. I tell you what, I do not want to do it. I love what I'm doing now. I have a certain freedom. I don't think anyone does it any better than I've done it. I mean, I haven't been around that long. If you really look, it's 10 years, it's 12 years. It's not a long period of time in terms of what I've been able to build.
But you have this big total vision of the country, the United States of Trump. I mean, would you really like to take over and run the country as you have run your organization?
I would much prefer that somebody else do it. I just don't know if the somebody else is there.
They're not, sir. There's no one else there. Not even Ron DeSanctimonious.
I don't know if we have the kind of advocate that you need. We need major surgery. This country...
Major surgery. Boy, this was all prophetic, man.
Country needs major surgery.
Are you the surgeon?
I think I do a fantastic job, but I really...
You did.
...would prefer not doing it.
Uh-huh. Are you saying you will take it home if drafted?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I hope that somebody comes along who can be an advocate, and I think that somebody will be so popular,
But you haven't seen anybody.
He or she will be the most... But I don't see it now. I wish that person were there. I don't know how much longer we have. But again, I do know one thing. It's not a question. This country is losing hundreds of billions. It's not a question if, it's a question when.
Everybody listen, because this is what tonight's show is all about. You're going to get great information tonight. Listen.
It is going to happen. It's going to happen drastically. It's going to be dramatic, and it's going to be horrible. And I'll tell you the other thing. This country has always reacted best under adverse conditions, whether it's wars or anything else. That's when, unfortunately, we're going to wake up. I'd like to see the...
He just predicted something. Listen.
...country wake up long before that.
An ominous prediction, but hope in the future. This is the 11th hour.
And controversial bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to ask you a question after that montage of video clips, and I want you to tell me the answer in your own mind. Why didn't Donald Trump run then? They were trying to get him to run. The whole nation wanted him to run because Yahweh, the God of heaven, had a moment prepared for the trumpet to sound forth a message. Do you know what the single greatest threat to America is? Right now on Roku, we have 6,200 viewers right now. Right now, across our other platforms, on FHTV, almost 6,000. Over on Rumble, well over 1,000. On Facebook, so we're probably right at 15,000, 16,000 people viewing us live at this moment. My question to you is, what is America's single greatest threat? Until you can answer that question, you will not be prepared for this threat. Donald Trump told you in that montage the single greatest threat to America. When Obama was running for president, He said our greatest threat was international terrorism. He was wrong. When Mitt Romney was running for president, he said it was a nuclear Iran. He was wrong. Other experts say it's global warming. They're all wrong. Border Patrol agents say it's Mexican drug cartels. They're wrong. Others have said it's North Korean nuclear attack, or Russia, or China, or Germany rising back to power. Those threats are all real, but there is a danger far greater than any of those. And one man was a trumpet that told you that danger 40 years ago. He came to office to stop that danger 4 or 8 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, the real danger, the greatest danger facing America is our massive debt. In 2013, America owed $16 trillion. 10 years later, today, we owe $32 trillion. So in 10 years, we doubled our debt in 10 short years. My question to you, my fellow American, in 10 years from today, will America owe $100 trillion? Now, last week, congressional Republicans had a chance to bring this under control. But this weekend, Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy reached a deal over the debt ceiling. And as a result, borrowing will only rise to $35 trillion by next year. We're at $32 trillion now. By next year, we will be at $35 trillion. But I want to show you how Donald Trump is still trying to save America from the winter White House, Mar-a-Lago. I've taught you over the last 3 years that Donald Trump is running a shadow government. And then I told you in the midterms we had a miracle, because if there would have been a red wave, there would be no way to stop this debt deal. Ladies and gentlemen, the debt deal is not yet passed. There is still hope. Donald Trump has made phone calls to the House Freedom Caucus, and they are beginning to make waves to stop it. Many of them are furious at Kevin McCarthy for the deal to lift the debt ceiling that he has brokered. And now there is a battle taking place where? On the House Rules Committee. Now, Kevin McCarthy has the votes on the floor of the House. He only needs 218 to pass this debt monster deal. But to get it to the House, it first has to clear the HRC, which is the House Rules Committee. All you need on the House Rules Committee to stop a bill from going to the floor, are you ready? All you need is 3 members of the HRC, and it cannot go to the floor. And who do you think has made a phone call to get those 3 people to stand up for America? None other than America's president, Donald John Trump, from the winter White House at Mar-a-Lago. The phone calls have been made, and all of a sudden, there's now 2 on the HRC that are completely committed to killing this deal. And a 3rd one is being worked on. I'll give you their names now. Chip Roy, Lauren Boebert. Now, Ralph Norman, I'm sorry, not Lauren, she's not on the HRC, I apologize. Chip Roy and Ralph Norman are both on the HRC. They've both made a stand against this debt bill. The 3rd one that Trump is working on is Thomas Massie. We must get Thomas Massie to turn, because that is the only way to help save America from our greatest threat, which is the debt crisis. Why?
I want to be very clear. Not one Republican should vote for this deal. Yes. Not one. If you're out there watching this, every one of my colleagues, be very clear. Not one Republican should vote for this deal. It is a bad deal. No one sent us here to borrow an additional $4 trillion to get absolutely nothing in return. But at best, if I'm being really generous, a spending freeze for a couple of years. That's it. That's about what you get. And frankly, you're going to make things worse, and my Democratic colleagues know it. That's why they're supporting it. That's why they're going around gleeful. Look, there's a reason our Democrat colleagues support this. There's a reason that Mitt Romney supports this. There's a reason that Bill Kristol supports this. It's all the same stuff. There's a reason that our conservative allies are opposing it roundly. The Club for Growth scoring against it. The Heritage Foundation scoring against it. Freedom Works scoring against it. Ron DeSantis publicly opposed. President Trump said he thought we should default rather than pursue this kind of lunacy. At the end of the day, the only person that would default in this town is Joe Biden, unless Republicans default on the American dream by voting for this bad bill. That is why this group will oppose it. We will continue to fight it today, tomorrow, and no matter what happens, there's going to be a reckoning about what just occurred unless we stop this bill by tomorrow.
Those are American heroes right there. You're looking at American heroes. They understand what Admiral Mike Mullen, the former chairman of the U.S. Joint Chief of Staff, said, and I quote, are you ready? He said that from a national security perspective, it is the brutal combination of the passage of time and no solution in sight for our national debt that creates a threat level like no other in this nation. Admiral Mullen said these words, eventually our debt will leave us defenseless. Our enemies, the Iranian president, said these words, how long can a government with a $32 trillion debt remain a world power? Ladies and gentlemen, America's leaders do not have the will to balance a budget. The only time we had one is whenever Speaker of the House, my Lord have mercy, I know him as well as I know my name, who was the speaker under Clinton? I know him anyway, white hair. I'm getting old, folks. Under his house was the only time we had a balanced budget. The only time. There is no will in this nation to balance our budget. None whatsoever. At all, folks. American leaders don't have the will. Donald Trump had the will. No nation in history has ever had such a gigantic debt, and let alone one that they never paid off, ever. Newt Gingrich, thank you, that's the one. Only under Newt Gingrich did we ever have a balanced budget in the House. Do you know that we are borrowing more than $1 out of every $2 that we spend? We're borrowing. Did you know that we have promised future retirees $100 trillion in benefits, money that we do not have? We have the biggest debt in world history. In 1980, it took $4 of new debt to generate $1 of economic growth. Listen to me carefully. In 1980, you had to spend $4 to make $1 in our economy. Today, it's $20 you have to spend to create $1 in economic growth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the nation of Germany, several years ago, they did something very dangerous, and that's where I'm getting to tonight. They began a trend with the German bank called Bundesbank. They shocked the financial world by demanding that America returns the gold reserves that Germany had in America. Now, the Bundesbank announcement came 3 months after the Federal Reserve refused to conduct an audit on Germany's gold. Germany said, hey, we want an audit on our gold. America would not give them an audit. German leaders had to fight to even be allowed to see a small portion of the gold that belongs to their country. Now you ask, why is there gold in our country? I'll explain it in just a minute. The answer is this, and the executive board member, Carl Ludwig, explained it. He said, if you've got gold in your house safe, you can't use that as collateral to another country in a time of emergency. So what did Germany do? They took the gold out of their house safe, sent it to the Federal Reserve to hold as collateral in case they ever needed U.S. dollars, since we are the reserve currency of the global financial system. So they said, hey, we want to bring our gold home. We don't trust the Federal Reserve anymore with our gold. Veteran gold trader Jim Sinclair said that the Bunds Bank announcement was a warning that investors should take physical delivery of their gold. The end of the status of the dollar will be a death blow to the American economy. Donald Trump ran his entire campaign on this message. And I want to say something to all of you right now, and I need you to listen carefully. You got some people that's mad at Trump for this or mad at Trump for that because maybe your pet issue, whatever that is, the vaccine, I could go down the list. He didn't do what you thought he should do. Let me tell you, your pet issue is not the greatest danger facing America. Okay? Let's get that straight. Your pet issue is not America's greatest danger. Our greatest danger is our debt. And Donald Trump is the master of that subject. And if he comes back to office and alone does a miracle with that, job well done. Now, Australia, the Netherlands, guess what? They all want their gold back. It's beginning to look like a modern day central bank gold rush, folks. For the first time in decades, central banks became net buyers of gold. Since then, gold buying has accelerated. Listen to these numbers. And then I'm about to bring an expert on this show that is going to help us understand this subject even further. Central banks have, in 2010, the central bank purchased 550 tons of gold. In 2012, that was up to nearly 1 million tons of gold. Forbes reported that China has imported 76 tons through Hong Kong, up 22% from last year of gold. Folks, these nations know something that we do not know. We remain ignorant because they want us ignorant. Why are people rushing out of the dollar and back into gold? Because we have a spending problem in America. Bill Clinton, as much as I didn't like him, here's what he said: we have to deal with our debt, or this debt's going to deal with us. But America will not deal with it because we do not have the character. But I want to tell you something. There are some people, some of you watching me tonight, we're ready to deal with it. If nothing else, if our nation won't, we will. Donald Trump revealed to us our greatest threat. Do we have any options? Do we have any choices? I want to encourage every patriot tonight. It's not a question of if. Donald Trump said it. It's a question of when. What can you do to fight inflation? What can you do to turn your fake money into God's money, the money that was created by the hands of God? I have an expert here tonight to help us dive into this subject. I want you to get a real understanding of your options tonight, what you can do. Many of you have 401ks that are tied to dollars, and you don't know what to do with those. Now, I am not a financial advisor. Let's make that straight from the top. But I am an eagle with eagle eyes, and I can see what's coming, just like Donald Trump. And so tonight, I am so honored that I was able to bring on this program a very special guest, a man that knows the subject of what we can do to prepare to protect ourselves against America's greatest threat. My guest is Josh Anderson. Josh Anderson is a co-founder of I'm not going to explain it. It's a club. I'll let him explain all of this. But the name of his company is 7K Metals, and they specialize in protecting assets against the debt and against the inflation in this nation. So tonight, it is my privilege to have Josh with us. Josh, I'm going to bring you on right now. Thank you for joining me tonight. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you. Sure. Appreciate it, Shane. And wow, what an awesome start to the night. And hearing the message tonight with the Patriots, truly phenomenal and absolutely true.
Thank you.
I go back to 2016 when me and my business partners got together and we started this idea of how we could help and protect people around the world who are falling into this trap of world debt and ever-growing inflation. And we realized in 2016 that there is only one hedge against this inflation in the world. There's only one real asset that you just explained, that countries like China, India, Russia, today in 2023 are pouring their US dollars out of our market and moving those assets into God's money, into gold and silver.
Yes.
And in 2016, we looked around the landscape and we said, you know what? There is no place today where the average common person cannot be taken advantage of when it comes to collecting or receiving God's money. And we said, you know what? We owe it to the world to get rid of all the hurdles, get rid of all the little roadblocks that stand in the way of people getting real tangible assets so they can protect themselves, right? I go back to this idea. You shared something about Donald Trump and his divine maybe nature in his timing. As you said that, I was reminded of a statement by a really good friend of mine named G. Edward Griffin. G. Edward Griffin wrote a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, right? How the Federal Reserve was created and how it's really just a cartel. A personal friend of mine. And what's interesting is he shared a statement in 2009 that is so applicable today. While giving an interview, he said, thank goodness for good men and women who are out there fighting the good fight, who are buying us people more time to prepare ourselves personally. I think Donald Trump was someone who gave all of us a few more minutes in the world economy to prepare ourselves.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and the way he did that was by educating us and allowing us to know we should take and convert some of our fiat fake money in this world, and we should convert some of it, whatever we could, to real tangible assets, gold and silver. And so I'll be forever indebted to him and his administration for buying us a little more time. Now, if things don't change, that clock's going to keep running out, because
that's correct.
At the end of the day, it's going away.
Yeah. You know, Josh, years ago, I'm going to say 5 years ago, because I found out about your company about four years ago.
Yeah.
But the subject of gold intimidated me. I mean, we were literally, that was not a subject in the house I grew up in. Only rich people had gold. And so when I found what you had created, you and whoever else with you, it simplified it. For example, I went to your website and began to study your charts about how much a dollar is worth today. This was things I didn't know. And I want to thank you for creating what you set out to create, a simple solution for people like me and almost 20,000 of patriots that are watching us now, to be able to go with no intimidation, no pressure, just go. Your website gives great information. And one of your friends has been on my show several times, Bob Reed, and he explained to us how inflation works. If you would have had gold so many years ago, what it would buy now. And so you and your fellow workers have created that space for us to be able to venture to your website and educate ourselves. That's a great accomplishment. Thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. When you set out to do something for others, you usually find greatness. And we really set out to just make it so that the common man and woman, all of us, could have access without the pressure to buy gold and silver, and to do it in a really simple manner. One of the things that's been remarkable, we've learned some things. We launched a product a few years ago called Sound Money. That product is fractional ownership of gold and silver, meaning some people don't have $2,000 to buy their first gold coin.
Right.
They just don't have it. But you know what they do have? They have $20 or $40 or $10 or $100. And so we went to the marketplace and we built a program there where people can buy fractional ownership in gold and silver coins, have them stored in a private vault, fully insured. And when they have enough to have sent to their house, or it's maybe economically viable to send it to their house for shipping and insurance, that they can do that. It's been an absolute game changer. Literally for us on a daily basis, 2,500 unique individuals a day get the opportunity to buy gold and silver for the first time, and to do it in a non-threatening environment. And most importantly, have the opportunity to have real-time liquidity. Because what's really matters in gold and silver isn't necessarily just owning it, but hey, you know what? What if life gets really hard? What if all of a sudden the car breaks down, or the kid your son breaks their arm, or there's an emergency, a funeral in the family? You got to be able to sometimes liquidate a few of those assets again. And so to have opportunities to not be taken advantage of, and maybe not have to go to your local pawn shop or those things where you maybe don't know everybody and what the situation is, but to do it in real time has been really a powerful, powerful tool in this space for just education and helping people get rid of the fears. And so it really is something that every American should own. Every patriot should have gold and silver. They should be able to protect themselves and do it in a safe, fun environment.
Before you created your company, so I'm going to follow up. You said every patriot should do this. Before you created your company, here was our choices. We could go get gold and silver from, J.G. Wentworth or whomever, wherever, the pawn shops, what have you. But we would have to buy it at a marked up price. That's just the way capitalism works. Okay. So automatically, whatever your gold was worth, it's going to be decreased the value by the markup that you have to pay for it. So then we didn't know if we was getting pure gold. We didn't know really what we were getting. So we just, forget it. But you have created a Costco or a Sam's of the gold and silver world, where people can become a member of your company, and now they get their gold with very minimal markup. Would that be the words to say it?
Yeah, that'd be the words, right? The industry is just full of greed. We can all watch the TV or listen to the news, and we can hear ads every day for gold and silver, and we can hear them from spokesmen that are really highly paid spokespeople in this world. And with highly paid spokespeople and those things, there's high commissions. And so we just stripped all that out, right? That's not why we exist. And so, yeah, you get to buy it at a very competitive price. And more importantly, we offer the highest liquidity in the world. So the highest buyback.
What does that mean? Explain what that means.
Yeah. So, it's really in this world, I always say, my grandfather used to tell me, Josh, it's not what you can sell something for, or what you can, but it's more importantly, or it's not what you can buy something for, it's what you can sell it for. Meaning, when I have an asset, how can I get it liquidated? When I need to turn it back into cash, how can I do it? And so if you get a really good price from, let's say, an online retailer to buy gold and silver, but then they ding you for 30% on the buyback, did you really win? No. So what matters most is when it's time to turn it back into fiat currency for an emergency.
Okay.
What is the price I'm going to get? And we're the only company that broadcasts that in live real time for people every second, 24 hours a day. And offer instant liquidity at our Sound Money.
So let me see if I'm understanding. You look over there, you'll see a stack of gold and silver. You see my boxes?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're telling me is you will buy all that back from me. Is that correct?
So inside the Sound Money wallet, all the bullion we buy back instantaneously. And then what's really cool too is we've learned in the world, history has taught us anything. It's that collectible items are of greater value than common items. For example, during World War II, the most valuable items in the world actually became paintings, not even gold and silver, but paintings. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them are stolen from people all across Europe, right? But we also learned in the last 40 years, we've learned that collectible items like, let's say, shoes that are maybe Michael Jordan shoes that are collectible, or cards, if they have an intrinsic value, they're worth more money than just their common counterpart. The same things happen in the gold and silver space. Many gold and silver coins have been turned into collectibles, which have had higher values than just their counterparts of the actual coin. And so one of the things that we offer is we're the number one producer and seller of collectible coins on earth today. And inside of our membership, we allow people to buy and curate collections of the most sought after coins in the world that only are available to our members. We've changed the whole marketplace so dramatically in 6.5 years that we own that space, meaning the greatest coins that are produced in the world today, our members get the first crack at them, which happens to make them more valuable in the marketplace. So yeah, we love all that stack you got stacking over there for a rainy day.
Well, I've got one coin, got a butterfly. It's a butterfly coin. And I looked at Stack and Sell yesterday, and that coin is just like I paid $100, whatever my monthly coin was, and it's worth $1,000 today. You know, and I was like, what?
Supply and demand, right? How cool is that? You bought a coin for $129 and it's worth $10,000 because there are more people on this earth that want that coin than there are coins, right? There's only 3,500 of those, but there's tens of thousands of people who want that coin in the world. That is real, true, fair market economics. What our government used to be built on and what the foundation of our country is built on, that's how it works. And unmanipulated markets, when buyers and sellers can interact together. For us, as owners of those companies, we are free market capitalists. We believe that
Josh, I had a lady email me yesterday and said, I've got $200,000 in my 401k. And I'd like to put it into gold and silver. So you've created, if I understand correctly, an in-house process where people, if they are a member of your club, you have someone on staff that can walk them through that from front to back. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not financial planners by any means, but we have set up the relationships so that people can roll over their IRAs, their 401ks, and turn those into physical gold and silver and have them backed in a private vault. And so now they've taken what was a very volatile product in the market and turned it into something that history has told us over and over has real value and maintains its buying power. So we do that. It's one of our member benefits inside 7K Metals, and thousands of people use it on a weekly basis. And given, I'm not an endorser of a lot of people in the world, but I recently was listening to Robert Kiyosaki, who's also a friend and purchaser of our products. And he said something really remarkable. He said that I thought was remarkable. He said, anyone who's in a 401k or in a IRA today ought to really take a hard look at why those products were created, what their purposes are, and convert them, if they so desire, to gold and silver. You can go look it up. He said it a lot lately, but I think about that, and it made me go study the creation of the 401k. And when you find out that the creation was so that the government could get out of pensions, and so that Xerox could not have to guarantee payment to its retirees, and that they anticipated that most 401ks would pay out 30 cents on the dollar in the future. When they created that instrument, that was the language in Congress. Everyone ought to stop for a minute and go, whoa, wow, I might want to change that over to real money.
Wow. Boy, Josh, we ought to do a whole show on 401ks. That is interesting. Let me ask you this. You mentioned the Sound Money Wallet. Now, we've done several shows here on something now called FedNow. Don't know if you're familiar with it.
Very, very, very familiar.
Okay. So we know that FedNow is going to basically be the clearinghouse of all banking transactions. If someone was a member of your club, part of their membership, they would get a wallet that is a sound money wallet. I've got one. In that wallet, they can fund it with their bank money. They can send it in and fund that wallet. And with the push of a button, basically, they can take and put that money in whatever assets, precious metals, they want to. Gold, silver, plat, I don't know what all you offer, but with the push of a button, they can transfer their fake money into those assets and let those accrue until they need to liquidate them. Am I right or wrong?
100% right. And
Okay.
And we need, and as we look at the world today, I think it's important to realize that we are going to a system. The Fed now is coming. That's going to be a reality.
Yes.
We're not
Yes.
going to be able to not see that in the near future.
In July, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be turned on in July. And what we don't know is what level the federal government is going to make everyone participate yet.
Right.
But in that, we should have mechanisms like are available at Sound Money, where at a push of a button, somebody can say, I need to buy $20 of gold today. Or, you know what, I need to liquidate $20 in gold today and have it go back to fiat currency. So, yeah, it's a push of a button. It's real time, and it's a revolutionary product. Just think about this. Think about the revolution that Bitcoin has made in the last 15 years, where people are now having digital assets. Think about that being real. Think about having fractional ownership, but real gold and silver backed at more than 1-to-1 in the vaults, meaning we never have less gold or silver in the vaults than the holdings of the people. Go back to 1973 when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. And you mentioned the night, the experience with the Germans when they asked for their gold to be audited. Well, I think it's interesting when President Nixon took us off the gold standard, he said, because due to the speculators in the market, we're going to suspend the physical conversion of dollars to gold. Wow. Well, it wasn't the speculators. Those speculators were banks and nations saying, hey, we want our gold. And the power, I think it's ironic that as individuals, what we're doing at Sound Money and the Sound Money wallet is we're going back to the gold standard. We're going back in time to where if the governments aren't going to back our assets 1-to-1, we have to do it as a people. So that's why Sound Money exists. It's pre-1973 U.S. Treasury.
I love it, boy, and that's everybody's dream. Patriots watching right now, they're always talking about the gold standard. I want to go back to the gold standard. Guess what? You don't have to want no more. Josh created it. Him and his buddies. The gold standard is back. Yep. You can become a member of this club, and you're back on the gold standard. Now, Josh, I want to keep this practical for people watching right now that they're lost. They're a little confused. I want to talk more about the Sound Money wallet. Number one, as a pastor, we love, many of our church members have the Sound Money wallet, okay? Do you know they are all sending their tithe to the ministry through the Sound Money wallet now, and basically staying out of FedNow, staying out of the eye of the big brothers, and that money is coming straight to the ministry with no fees. So if you sent tithe to our church right now, we would lose a percentage of that money through PayPal or Venmo or whomever. But when we get tithe from Sound Money wallet, it's the exact money, it's the exact amount they sent to us with no fees. We're not supporting the liberal left like PayPal. We're transferring money. So if a mother is watching right now and she's got a child in college, okay, and they both are members of this club and they both have the Sound Money wallet, she wants to send him $1,000. She does it straight through the Sound Money wallet. She don't pay any fees. Am I correct with saying any fees? Is that a correct statement?
Yeah. So you guys just send your metal, right? So you own gold, you own silver, and let's just say for practical purposes that $100 happens to be a decimal point in gold of 0.00012. That's about what it is today. That means that mother would send that $100. It wouldn't send $100. It'd send their actual gold, 0.00012 ounces of gold to said child, right? And the beautiful part is the child then could go liquidate it in real time for the said $100, right?
Wow.
And have it sent ACH to their bank account. So, yeah, you know, it is. We are trying to make a world in which people can transact in real assets, right? Now, hey, we're all realists, right? We know the government, they're not involved in it today, but dadgum, the government tries to get involved in everything. So
that's
they'll
correct.
probably tie it all up in the future. But guess what? Not today.
Well, you know what? And the same thing with Bitcoin. It's been decades, and they're finally starting to try to get involved in Bitcoin. You know, it was so they'll try. But the thing about it is, if somebody's watching right now and they're like, you know what, guys, sounds great. I don't have a 401k. I don't have thousands of dollars. You know, I can't afford gold and silver. You created something that to me is so powerful. The monthly coin of the month. And that's for somebody that just says, you know what, I just want to trade $100 of my fake money for a collectible coin every month. One that's a real MS-70. I don't want to get into details, but okay. So they trade fake money. You send them real money on a monthly basis. I think it's $100, $130, whatever the case may be. And now they're starting into the hobby, if you will, of trading fake money for real money. And it may well be that one of those coins they get, Josh, will do like my butterfly coin and be worth 100 times pretty much what I paid for it, if you will. So that, to me, that is a wonderful program that you've created.
Yeah, you know, if we've learned anything in this world, it's me and my partners by nature. We all need a little help and discipline, right? I would imagine a lot of your listeners do the same. Like when we can put things on autopilot and we can go about our daily lives, that's how we really win, is a little bit of discipline. So that program allows people to kind of get on one of our coin of the months and say, you know what, I want one of these coin of the month sent to my house every month, put it on autopilot. And at the end of the month or end of the year, they got 12 coins maybe in their collection they didn't have before. And I look at that and go, wow, if nothing else, if the coin stayed the same value, guess what? You now have set aside, like you said, some fake money, turn it into real money, God's money. And guess what? Now you have an asset that when times get tough, you got a little savings account, little rainy day fund. And I could tell you hundreds of experiences of people who 5 years ago owned no gold and silver.
Well, Josh, that stack I just showed you, I'll show you it again. I would not have that stack if it was not for the monthly coin, because I would not remember to order one. I would just put it off, you know, I get busy, but that comes every month, and they have stacked and stacked and stacked. And get this, Josh. Now, we make no financial claims at all, okay? But that stack, I think I've got about 26,000 of my fake dollars into that stack. And, you know, I just check, stack, and sell, and I could sell it to you right now for about $35,000. You know, I got 26,000 in it. That's over 4 or 5 years because I get them every month. So thank you for forcing me to get a product that has, you know, appreciated. It's a wonderful thing that you've got going there. And so what I want to do before we go, I know your time is valuable. Everyone watching right now that understands what Donald Trump said, that our greatest threat is the debt that we face. If we do not start individually, if we can't change a nation, we can change our homes. We can change our families. And if somebody, and by the way, I was at your convention a few weeks ago in New Orleans, and I was blown away at how you have changed people's lives financially, because y'all offer a financial income for anyone that wants to tell this to their friends and family. I was blown away at the changes financially you're making in people that's turning this into a side business, a side gig, whatever you want to call it. And so you've built that into there as well. So job well done, sir. Thank you very much for being my guest tonight. And I'm going to ask you the $1 million question before we go, because I'm looking at my chat over here and it's blowing up like a typewriter with questions. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You're hostage. You can't go anywhere. And I'm going to ask you the question that I'm getting over and over and over in the chat. The bottom falls out tomorrow. We've got all this gold and silver sitting over here. What happens? How do we get bread? How do we get food for our kids? I know you don't know what tomorrow holds. I get that. But from your understanding, would you talk to that issue?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So I'll tell it with a little story, because I recently, about a year ago, it's not that recent, I ran into a gentleman who was a medical doctor, a heart surgeon from the country of Venezuela. He now lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, is where I ran into him. He said that when the Venezuelan dollar collapsed overnight, so he went to bed, and he was a multimillionaire in his country, a very well-esteemed medical doctor. He went to bed and he woke up in the morning before the banks could open, and all of his money was worthless.
And Josh, that just happened at Silicon Valley Bank. I mean, it just shows how quick that can happen.
It can happen, right? I said to him, and he was very positive, right? And I said, well, how did you get through that? And he said, thank goodness my grandfather had told me to always set aside a little gold. So when I was doing well, I bought some gold coins, I bought gold jewelry. And he said, when it all collapsed, I was able to take that real gold and go feed my family. He had passports, was able to buy plane tickets and move to America. He said, my other friends who hadn't done that, who are in the same boat as me, medical professionals, could not do the same thing. And he said, so to answer your question, we'll all use it how generations before us have used it. We will barter with it if it comes to that, and we will be taken care of, because we'll have something that others want so that we can have what we need.
So, I would think of it like this. Great answer. So let's say the bottom falls out tomorrow, and I've got, there's no food in town, right? And I'm over here with a garden full of food. Okay. All of a sudden, my garden no longer is looked at as just a garden. It becomes the most valuable thing in town. So I can take my cucumbers and I can probably get a car if I wanted with my cucumbers from the local car dealer. So I think the point you're making is that the gold and silver has intrinsic value that's never not going to be there. I believe someone said gold has never been worth nothing.
Exactly. Never.
Yesterday I saw an ad of the home of the what's that family? Oh Lord, the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch house went on sale, right? In Hollywood or wherever, for $5.5 million. Now the house is from the 70s, 60s, and it's probably worth $500,000 most, on sale for $5.5 million. It's a collectible house.
Exactly.
Josh, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate your time, and I'll have to give Kim Wiley a big high five for arranging this for me. Thank you so much, Josh. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate being here with you tonight. You guys have a great night.
God bless you. Everybody listen to me carefully. Whatever you've got to do, prepare for America's greatest threat. Donald Trump, when he returns, he will have one job: repair our economy, restore our economy. Because if we don't have our economy, we have nothing. God has raised him up for this moment. He has raised you up to support him for your children and your grandchildren. Before I go, I want to say this. Do you realize that Donald Trump may very well be the only man with a 20-year presidency? Let me make that clear. Elected in 2016 for 4 years, moved to the winter White House to rule through the House of Congress for 4 years. We're now at 8 years of influence over America with the message he's always had. He comes back in 2024 for 4 more years. That's now 12 years of Trumpian influence over the minds of America. Whoever his successor is, Tim Scott, Kerry Lake, or even whoever he chooses to hand his mantle to from the vice presidency, the vice presidential pick of Donald Trump may very well be more important than Donald Trump himself, as Elijah passes that to Elisha. You realize the ministry of Elijah lived on through Elisha. And then whoever his vice president is, if they get 8 years to govern, Trump will be governing through them. That will be a 20-year influence on this nation and our economy. It's enough to make a difference. Never underestimate Yahweh, God, the God of heaven. He sets up kings. He takes them down. He's in control. America is beloved by God. America is first in the agenda of God and the plans of God. If you don't understand what I just said, and that makes no sense to you, I want to invite you to go find our teachings. I just put the barcode up on the screen. I thought I did. No, right there. Yeah, no, that's it. Find our teachings right there. And go look under the category Tracking the Tribes. You'll learn about America, why she's first, and what God's plans are for her in the end of times. Ladies and gentlemen, I pray you've enjoyed our class tonight. Thank you for joining me. I love you all. I pray for you every day. And we're so excited because we're about to celebrate the day of Pentecost next Sunday. And we're going to celebrate the end of the Feast of First Fruits at our church here starting Friday night. You're welcome to come to Waveland, Mississippi. Friday night, 7 o'clock. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Sunday morning, 11 o'clock. And then a work day on the land Monday, starting at 8 in the morning. Come spend some time with us. We would love to have you. Remember that you live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth. She's worth loving. She's worth dying for. She's worth fighting for. And whatever you do, remember to always pray for this great nation that we all love. Good night, everybody.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I'd thank my lucky stars to be living here today.
'Cause this flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
God bless the USA.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea,
from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA,
where there's fire